This is episode 6 of my NationStates series. Goal of this series is to answer the issue questions in ways that align with an anarcho-capitalist and libertarian philosophies. So freedom for freedom of choice, I guess, for the population to make kind of any choice they prefer for their life, and to as minimally as possible ensure property rights. So we've got 5 issues for this one. I have to choose one of the options. I don't get to dismiss, and I've just got to choose the option that most closely aligns with my understanding of kind of libertarian values. Sorry about the traffic noise. First issue. Quick overview of my nation at the moment. Superb civil rights and political freedom, a strong economy. We have a population of 148. We have a tax rate, a flat income tax rate of 6%, and the economy is growing. I've decided I'm not too interested in what the economy does, really. I think that most libertarians, most anarcho-capitalists would argue that freedom or a strong economy is a function of freedom. But I could imagine that everybody could just decide to lay around in hammocks all day, so they'd have the right to do that. They could have superb civil rights and superb political freedom, and no one's economically productive. That's in terms of GDP, that's a possibility. You could argue that would happen. Some might say that GDP isn't a very good measure of an economy because value is subjective, and so the more political freedom, the more freedom people have to act how they deem most valuable to them, that would be actually the best kind of measure of an economy. So if everybody chooses leisure over productivity, then you could kind of argue that's the highest subjective valuation of wealth that they could make as well. So I think that the economy will be strong. I think it's correlated, but I don't see it as a measure of success for a libertarian or anarcho-capitalist nation. So I'm more interested in the tax rate. That's probably on this page the closest thing to a measure of my success running an anarcho-capitalist nation. I just want to keep getting that tax rate down. Alright, so our issues. The recent boom in nationwide supermarket Humongo Mart has brought representatives from local mum and pop stores to your office demanding action be taken. The debate. Humongo Mart is destroying our livelihoods, shouts Soccer Pence, the owner of a small butchery, while waving a bloody cleaver. These chains are oversaturating our cities with ridiculously low prices. I simply can't compete. You need to put a stop to this. We need more regulations dictating where these supermarkets can be. So I would be surprised if option number 1 is the most libertarian option I get. You've got to be kidding me, scoffs business columnist Artemis Weasley. You want to punish businesses if they become too successful? They started small just like everyone else. If you regulate or even ban big business, can you imagine the fallout? With corporations to compete with, these small shops could gouge their prices. Or without corporations. Never mind what capping industry growth would do to the economy. If anything, we need less government meddling. So he's kind of making a consequentialist argument for a libertarian position. So I don't like his argument, but it is the best option out of 1 and 2. I imagine this one's going to be a centrist kind of argument. This raises an interesting question, begins amateur philosopher Ethel Dax. Why should we leave an essential commodity such as food up to the whims of profits and greed? Oh no, wait, we're going full socialist here. The government needs to step in and take control of the means of food production in this country. You could ensure that every citizen is provided with a well-balanced, healthy meal instead of this overpriced slop. People shouldn't have their health and basic needs held hostage by greedy corporations. Alright, so no time to really debate it, but I'm going with number 2. I'm hoping that we get some people engaging with this series in the comments, and we could talk about my decision and if anyone would have made a different decision in terms of adhering to libertarian philosophy, and so on. So recent headlines: consumer confidence grows after government backs business. Parents teach preschoolers preemptive strike doctrine. Chamber of Commerce applauds government initiative, and foreigners confused by Jive Iranian customs, tourist operator says. Retail industry has improved. The wealth gap has increased. Just scanning through for some other bigger effects. I don't see any other big effects. Average income of the rich has gone up. The downward pressures are all very small that I can see so far. The black market shrunk. Niceness went down. Authoritarianism went down. That's good. I don't think we affected taxation, but that's okay. Authoritarianism went down. That's probably the best measure for our goals. Buried bones unearthed debate. A group of college students on a camping trip to the outskirts of Jive, Erin, stumbled across an ancient mass gravesite. The proper treatment of the remains has become a hot-button issue as various groups have staked their claims. An ancient mass gravesite, that would be abandoned property, as far as I could tell, unless they were forced, an ancient civilization was forced off of that land. The debate. These bones belonged to our ancestors, or at least we call dibs first, shouts Miranda Long, a representative of the Violet Stone tribe, close enough that you can feel the spittle flying from her lips. How would you like it if we poked and potted the remains of your ancestors? We have the right to take these bones back to our land and ceremonially burn them as our cultural heritage dictates. I think she's got a pretty good argument. I don't see a suggestion there that they just kind of abandoned the gravesite. Not that the gravesite could be owned by a collective, or it can't be co-owned. It's one person has to be the owner, as per ANCAP philosophy. But she's not really claiming. No evidence that it was abandoned so far. And calling dibs first is pretty close to homesteading if it was abandoned. Option 2, you can't seriously consider giving up such valuable information, can you? Oh, here comes the science argument, gasps Theo Shatner, a professor of anthropology at Jive, Erin City University. So the science argument is usually a kind of a collectivist argument. That is for the betterment of society, that kind of thing. The information from these remains is invaluable. This is a rare opportunity to learn about ancient Jive-Iranian culture and where we came from. Let us put these bones to the test, so to speak, and place our national knowledge first. So national, kind of a nod to the collectivist philosophy of science, I suppose, or the way that science, I guess, is used as something generally respected in most cultures, especially Western cultures, to push a collectivist kind of view or a collectivist philosophy. We need to send these remains to the university along with some grant money for research and testing. So far, number 1. Burn them, letting them rot in some dank university closet? You can't let these travesties occur, demands Ben Beckham, the curator of the Maxonian Museum of History. These bones are in pristine condition and deserve to be seen by the public. Imagine the revenue and tourism that would be brought in if you allowed me to display these bones, bared for all to see. Who cares if it upsets some smug know-it-alls or overly sensitive descendants? This is preservation. This is money. Culture. He hasn't really made an argument that he has a better property claim than argument number one, than Miranda Long. So I'm still going number one. Hey, what's the big idea trying to pick and choose who gets what? Questions college student Fumiko Grant, followed closely by her peers. We found those bones, so we should get to take them for ourselves. Our right to the claim is firmly supported by the case of finders keepers versus losers weepers. Plus, I really need to pass my thesis. I'm running out of time, and these bones would really put me over the top. Were they abandoned? Was it abandoned, making it kind of returning to nature in the language of ANCAP philosophy? We don't know. I don't think there's enough information here to say. I don't think they were lost. I think they were abandoned. I don't know if I can side with Miranda on this one. We called dibs first. Did they call dibs first? I can't really differentiate between 1 and 4. I don't think I've got enough information to make a confident decision. I'm going to go with 1. Calling dibs is an unalienable right. Well, yeah, that's pretty close to ANCAP philosophy for homesteading, I think. At least in a tongue-in-cheek kind of comedic interpretation. Well, religiousness went up. Food quality. Okay, I don't think that's had a huge effect on kind of libertarian, things that we'd be interested in. People can be as religious or secular as they want. All right, keep going. I've still got 3 more. As Jive Erin's economy has boomed, both the quantity and value of remittances sent home by migrant workers have been steadily climbing. Nervous nationalists claim that not only is money being sucked out of the economy, but that it is also directly fueling the growth of your rivals, particularly Bigtopia. It's all in the numbers, dear leader, suggests Thaddeus Park, your Director of Economic Simplification, as he frantically types on his calculator. The increase in remittances directly correlates with the decrease in domestic spending. Not too interested in correlation. If we put an additional tax on overseas remittances, we could make up some of our losses. Plus, it will encourage more people to use their money here rather than over in that big, awful Bigtopia place. More money for you, more money for the Jive-Iranian people. No, I can't back that one. Number 2. Where did you study economics? Ye old isolationist university? Snarks Bank CEO Beavis Wagner, sauntering into the room in a suit worth more than the average Bigtopian makes in a year. The economy these days is global, not local. A tax on remittances would undermine our interconnected banking system and weaken us in the global community. Basic economics says we should open up our physical and financial borders even more to encourage our neighbours to expatriate and join our workforce. With no artificial limits, the potential for wealth and economic growth is endless. Yeah, so open borders kind of argument, I think that's more in line with libertarianism, although contentious issue. Number 3, after a brief awkward silence, ardent nationalist Freya Croft emerges from behind a flagpole in your office. I have 3 words for you: ban all foreigners. Immigrants are more trouble than they're worth. It's not just the remit your doodles you talk of, but those people steal local jobs from the poor, hungry native Jive. I bet most of these foreign workers are undocumented overstayers too, so none of this is getting declared properly for tax purposes either. We need to take care of our own people first. I'd admit that those kinds of arguments are pretty persuasive to me, but it's just not in line with the libertarian philosophy. Number 4, I have a less drastic solution, interjects your foreign minister hurriedly. I propose a revamp of our immigration system to include a skilled worker policy, where we only accept the creme de la creme of immigrants. By carefully targeting highly skilled professionals, we'll cut down on the remittances while still ensuring vital workers fill shortages in our job market. We get more high-earning professionals who pay their taxes, and fewer of these big-topian pushcart operators sending their wages back home to fuel their corrupt government. It's win-win. So I think, was that number 4? No, number 2. We're going with number 2. I think that one's pretty easy in terms of the goal of my nation. What's the effect going to be? Chamber of Commerce applauds government initiative. Forests ripe for plunder, aristocrats welcome rising income inequality, and Jive Erin more chill than ever before. Agriculture increases, food quality increases, inclusiveness, radicality, freedom from taxation, so there's one that we want to affect. Economic freedom is the other one we really want to affect, so that's good. And civil rights has gone up. Scanning through for anything else that we really care about. Authoritarianism is down and taxation is down, so we've affected the the things that matter to us. The issue. Following recent elections in Jive Erin, where the Equality for Vilified Inmates League won a noticeable percentage of seats, the media have jumped on the issue of whether or not prisoners should be allowed to vote. Alright, we've got 2 options. This is absurd, argues conservative politician Fard Parker. Why should criminals be allowed to participate in elections like normal people? Voting should be a privilege for the law-abiding members of this country. If someone breaks the law, they must lose the right to have a say in who governs them. At the very least, it'll be a good deterrent. You're not going to listen to that claptrap, I hope, says noted Liberal commentator Ksenia Walker. Voting is a right that everyone should enjoy, regardless of whether or not they have committed a crime. We already punish those who break our law. Restricting one's ability to vote is a punishment totally disproportionate to any crime. I don't think we have a right to vote. I think that democracy is, inherently a rights-violating institution. So voting, being allowed to vote or not being allowed to vote, I don't think gets very close to a libertarian position. I mean, less people voting in a way means, I guess, less representation. Is it less fair if only some people can vote? Even though voting itself is, a rights violating kind of action. So it seems kind of counterintuitive that if everybody can vote, that's less rights infringing, since voting itself is a rights infringement. Just the majority kind of bullying around the minority. So, man, I don't have a position on this one. I really don't have a position on this one. I'm going to go number 2. I guess it's closest to kind of, a universal rights. and everyone should have the same rights, I suppose. But then they've broken the law, so that, it's a coin toss for me. I'm going with number 2 just because it's a liberal commentator. That's the only way I can kind of break the tie there. Alright, let's see what happens. President visits increase substantially during election years. Government official found my wallet, added cash. What have we affected? Political freedom has gone up. Authoritarianism has gone down. So I guess we got that one right, but it almost at a guess. I don't know if you could argue strongly that would affect political freedom and authoritarianism in the way that it has. But anyway, that's the results. Last issue. After Smalltopian journalists reporting on recent protein powder trade negotiations penned more articles on Jive Iranian government buildings covered in bird droppings than international commerce, questions have been raised as to whether Jive Erin's pigeon problem has gotten out of control. The debate. Get these damned flying rats off me, yells Lisbeth Hitchcock, a member of the Jive Erin City Beautification Council, desperately trying to wave away the pigeons pecking at her. These vermin are everywhere, defecating on us, spreading disease and damaging bronze and marble with their caustic droppings. It's all happening because a bunch of nut jobs are feeding them to feel good about themselves. Lead up, ban pigeon feeding immediately, so we may be free of this feathered pestilence. Number 2, this is their city as much as it is ours. Well, I don't agree with that. Sings your childhood nanny Miriam Popout while staring at a snow globe with unsettling intensity. You can't let these beautiful creatures die. We should embrace bird feeding. Jive Erin City will become known as the city of 1,000,000 pigeons, and tourists will flock from across the world to see the birds and feed them at only $2 a bag. I can't see what the fuss is about, chimes in BF Spinner, a spokesperson of the Jive Erin City Ornithological Society. Ask any illusionist or postman you know. Pigeons are highly trainable animals. If the problem is that they are pooping around, they can simply be given potty training. Just put small toilet bowls at designated spots in the city, equipped with a food dispenser that gives food pellets when a pigeon poops there. The pooping behaviour will thus be positively reinforced, and voila, the next time the pigeon will go to the toilet bowl when it needs to poop. Problem solved. I like number 3. That's pretty clever. So I was liking number 1. I'm not an environmentalist, I'm a humanist, and I think you have to be one or the other. I don't think there's a middle ground that really makes sense because they're exclusive categories, human and environment, so there's no kind of third category. But then when they say ban pigeon feeding, I'm kind of turned off again because we don't ban stuff as libertarians. There is crime. There is such a thing as crime, but so I guess you ban legitimate crimes, but feeding a bird isn't a legitimate crime. Number 2. Number 2. Just reading through that one again. I don't see any kind of rights infringing thing in there. It's just a suggestion for tourism. I don't know if it would work. It wouldn't work, but I think in the game mechanics, it's going to boost tourism and the economy. And there's no rights infringement in there at all. This one here, number 3, I think it's pretty clever. But it's a government solution because it's obviously going to be, the Jive Erin city government that funds the program. So while it's a cool idea, if it was a private company that wanted to install these little food dispensers with potties, then that would be fine. And while it's not kind of explicitly stated, I think it is going to have that effect of increasing government expenditure on infrastructure. I think that's what it's kind of getting, the spirit of the question is about, just in a funny example. So I've got to go with number 2. Well, we lowered taxes by the looks of it. Let's see what we've done. We've increased the retail industry. We've increased obesity somehow. We've increased freedom from taxation by a little bit. Crime is down. I guess it's good that crime's down and taxation is down. That's more important. But environmental beauty is down. Again, it's not one of our goals for the nation or for how we answer questions, but I'll admit it's one of my hopes for outcomes. All right, that's a long one, I think. Yeah, that's a pretty long one. Thanks, guys. We managed to drop tax a little bit though, so that's good.